larger than they used to be before. Of course, it's a bigger pie, so it's a smaller slice in a I mean, comparatively in a bigger pie, but they survived very successfully. Mm-hmm. Blockbuster is another one that went under by annihilated by Netflix. The problem is, and the reason why I mentioned that is that the system being impacted today is not just one company. I mean, it is, and it's not even just one industry. I mean, it is at a global level that is so significant that this kind of crash is actually going to take down a lot of the economy as a whole, or has the risk of doing that.
Because it's all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if, well, I know there wasn't a plan for today's meeting, but Brian pinged me last night and said, are we going to have one sometime this year? And I finally got back from vacation on Sunday, so we're somewhat recovered. What I, unless someone has another idea, I would like Brian to walk us through how he built the last presentation, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. Any objections?
Well, I'll do my best. I'm not quite sure. I mean, basically,
You don't know how you built it?
I don't know how. Well, I mean, I don't think I built it anything differently than anybody else ever builds things. I mean, just my own particular insights. That's all. Yeah, I'm fine to do that. Which one do you want to do? The relevant? Yeah. Okay.
This one?
Right. Okay. Now I've made changes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So,
so I'm going to go ahead and let you share.
Okay.
And I probably have to give you. Make you the host. You're the host.
Okay, so I'm the host now, and so anything I open up, or
anything you share.
Okay, how do I share?
There's wherever the toolbar is.
Okay, the toolbar is down here. Polling participants, invite.
In the middle, there's a green thing that says share.
Oh, share. Okay, all right.
And you can share a whole screen or just a window?
It's a screen, basic files, whiteboard, Google Chrome. So I probably need Google Chrome. Hold on, okay. Open system. Right, hold on. Okay, I'm a little bit confused here. It says, hold on. I gotta move stuff out of the way here. All right. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, good. All right, then let me just go over. Can you see, okay, so you can see.
All I see is you.
Oh, you still see me. Okay, sorry. All right.
There we go.
Okay, good. Now I got it. All right. Okay. Okay, roll. Should do it. All right, do you see the presentation?
No, I still see, what is it, an orchid?
What do you see?
An orchid? A flower?
Oh, you don't think, Brenda? Okay, hold on. Okay, that's underneath.
It's a nice flower. What is it?
It's something from Google. I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I see your cursor moving around.
Yeah. It's not doing what I want it to do. Okay.
Do you have two screens set up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then you have to move. You're on the wrong screen. So you want to move your presentation over into this screen.
Okay.
Just slide it over.
That's what I was trying to do. Sure.
It'll be easier next time.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. Okay. I take it you still just see the other screen.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Penalty. Sure.
When you tell it to share, your computer screen should be at the top and the windows should be at the bottom.
You're talking about the windows with you guys in it?
No, that when you tell it you want to share,
Oh.
it pops another window, and on the top of that window it should show your two different screens, and at the bottom it should show windows that you have open that you could share simply by clicking on them.
Okay, let me try that.
So go ahead and unshare this, and then
Cancel. All right. Okay, I'm going to stop share.
okay.
I'm going to come over here and try to bring this. Over here. No, it doesn't because of the dam. I just really mess things up. All right, I'm going to come out and come back in again, guys.
Okay. We'll be here.
Leave me. Take it, burn it on.
So how was the Amazon, Klaus?
I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, you're going? Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait. It would be nice to just get off the news cycle and just leave everything behind for a while.
Yeah, you might not even have any cell phone service.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Life without cell phones. Welcome back.
And
I made you the host.
okay, I'm moving up chair. Let me try something else here.
You know, if you disconnect the second screen, just unplug it, then everything concentrates onto your one screen. That may be easier.
So if I disconnect, okay, well, let me try something else, another idea.
So what was it that caused you to decide on the Amazon for a place to take a trip?
Oh, that's just on my bucket list.
Oh, okay.
Well, we love to take Rhodes Scholar vacations. We went to Cuba this year, and early this year. That was just phenomenal. Because you have academics who guide you through this, and
okay.
so you have you get cultural context, and nature, political context.
Yeah, I would think that this would be a very culturally different vacation.
Can you guys see anything now?
No? When you click on share, okay,
Okay.
what shows up?
A page that says desktop, whiteboard, iPhone pad, iPhone cable, Google Chrome unknown, Slack unknown, Pages unknown.
Okay. Do you have the Rural Community Food Project opened in the window?
Yeah.
Is it
And you don't see that window down at the bottom?
at the bottom right?
No,
It's
no.
a button called share.
Yeah, no, I don't. Okay, I see share. And then when I click on share, it says allow Zoom to share your screen, open system preference. All right, I'll do that. And then nothing. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Oh,
Okay, hold on. It's
we
doing
got
something.
you.
This is me.
Oh, that's you.
I just tried it.
Oh, okay.
It just works instantly.
Anything?
No?
No? Okay. All right, I'm gonna come, okay, I got one more idea that I think might work. What's the point? What the hell is that? No. Okay. Get rid of this. And okay, desktop one. That's you. Here's the full screen. What? Do that. Okay, that's what I did before.
So Brian,
Yeah.
when I click share,
Okay.
see this window right here in the middle?
Yeah, I don't have that.
What do you get? In other words,
I only get. I don't get the screen. I only get the desktop. I only get one desktop, even though I have more than one open. So I'm not getting what you get for some reason or other.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, let's regroup then.
No, sorry. I don't know the system well enough.
All right.
I mean, if you want to push the buttons on the presentation, then I can, talk about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me go back and open this. What? Which one is it?
The bottom one. I mean, that's the one you had last time. See, that's what you want me to do.
Okay. So I just like the way that he put it together in terms of what is it? Get rid of this.
That's stuck from your old map. You open that up on the map and it stays on top for some reason or other. See,
Okay.
yeah, you almost have to go back to the map to get rid of it. Just click on the blank space of your map and it'll go away. There you go.
Go. Okay.
Okay. So the basic impetus of this map is trying to think of ways to communicate some of these concepts to people outside of this group. which is like, Gene said, it's really difficult to do that because you don't have the basis of working through the whole thing like we have, from either an initial or adding on later on. And not so much trying to come up with a solution, which I basically explicitly said I'm not doing in this process, but just to come up with a better understanding of what's going on. And trying to think about, okay, we can start from some very simple concepts, but those simple concepts very quickly expand into something very complex.
Okay,
So,
what I also wanted people to realize is that you used a text slide to do all of this text that you typed in here using using Markdown, the same way that you would do it in the model itself.
Exactly.
So that you're providing a whole bunch of setup information for people, not just taking them directly into the model.
Right, because I don't think most people really are that comfortable with systems, maps, or the changing from a text-based linear thought process to a graphic, more complex, growing outward type of process. You kind of have to give them both and get them comfortable with it. And I also wanted to let people have some background knowledge about what we were trying to do, both factually what we were trying to do, but philosophically what we were trying to do too. So that's why I talk in this slide, the one you just left, about the metaphor, okay? I mean, a map as a metaphor for the territory is one way of looking at it, to my mind. And so, and when they say, look at, I'm talking about a road here, but it's not a real road, but still, it's the kind of where you take step by step and you get from one place to the next place. You may be doing it conceptually or you may be doing it physically, but it's still the same thing. So that was kind of like bringing people into something which is very complex. And again, I don't think it's for everybody, but I think we need to take kind of like small steps of bringing other people besides us into this process, especially people who have particular content knowledge about it of one area, but may not have content knowledge about other areas.
Okay.
So the next one is, so this is another metaphorical idea, and it's something we've talked about before, and I know Gene and I have talked about it in other venues, and that is story is so important. I mean, I think Gene now says he's no longer a systems thinker, he's a storyteller. And so I want to kind of get that idea too, but also the technical idea of Kumo presents stories in two ways. They can do it narratively on one side of the screen, and they can do it graphically on the other side of the screen. But those two things can work together. And that's something I try to do with my presentations, to directly have a narrative story which ties in with the map so people can see both changing at the same time. It takes a bit more doing, it takes a bit more time, and I got to constantly tweak it to get it to do what I want to, and I'm still working on the last presentation, but that allows me to have a more robust story. Oh, one more thing going back there again too. I've been in a lot of conversations lately with the asset-based community development crowd on Twitter, trying to bridge systems thinking with asset-based community development. And I think this is going to be tied in with this later on. But one of the things I made sure I made of this is a story about a system. It is not a story about community. It's intended to be used by community. I think there's a difference. And sometimes, especially when systems thinkers are working people at the outside of the field, there is a bias about, you're talking about the system is bad, the system is the thing that does evil things to people, systems thinkers must be working with the system. It's like, no, that's not true, you need to break that. Okay, right. So the next one. So now my presentations are based on the relevant factors map, which is the derivative of what we had at the beginning with the introduction map. And working with maps and other people who don't know systems thinking always makes a little bit nervous for either one, they're going to say, oh God, it's so amazing, it must be right, which is a problem because oftentimes there's problems that you don't see. Or two, it's sort of like, oh my God, it is a blob from an outer space or something coming to get us. So I decided here I would technically describe the whole thing, which is scary. 69 connections, 30 elements, and 9 different complex object things. That sounds scary, but at least I'm not showing it to them. But tell them how this breaks down and that I'm going to serve this to them one bite at a time, not serving the entire element at the same time. Also recognizing that the relevant factors map is based on the introduction map, which was actually created before I came on. But I make the point that, at least from my perspective, group maps can be more emergent in their creation than can one if I do it by myself. If I do it by myself, the thinking can up. It's usually very linear. I go from A to B to C to D, and maybe I find some loops, but I don't have the same non-linear capacity the 5 people making the same maps have, because it would be almost impossible for you guys to tell me where all the ideas came from that's in the introduction map. You guys mix it up so much together that it starts coming up with new emergent ideas, at least as far as I can see it. So, okay. And then this is navigating and explaining the ideas of stock. And I threw a couple of quotes from Danilo Meadows at the bottom there. I think this is the one that has it. And I textually describe what the process is, and then I will graphically show them later.
So a lot of this boilerplate you could reuse.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
I mean, while it looks long and cumbersome and involved, it's meaningful from the perspective of the person who gets a hold of this.
Right, right, exactly.
I mean, this is the stuff that I never provided, all right, which is a bad thing, because I was always doing voiceovers.
Right.
Though, as I have looked at this, I came to realize that even with the voiceovers, I should have provided some of this boilerplate at the beginning to set the stage more than I did. I was far too anxious to get into the model.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was too, and a lot of this stuff came after going through this thing, 10 times. I mean, the very first one about the disclaimer, that was actually at the end of the presentation, and then I realized, wait a minute, I got to let people know this up front, because if they wait to the end, it's like false advertising type of thing. The other thing is that I'm constantly going through these narrative sections and trying to make it more concise, because it is long. And I'm thinking about, I've got to capture these people and get them the ideas they need before they decide, hey, this is more trouble than it's worth. But once they have the idea, they're willing to go to the next step then. So that's the balance I'm trying to find.
Okay.
And the way presentations are different than maps. There's a lot of things the presentations do that maps don't. There's a lot of things maps do that presentations don't. But sometimes you can get yourself in trouble. So I just want to let people know that if you click something accidentally, you can go off into a, see the entire system map, which will be a problem. But it's simple. Just click one slide forward or one slide back. You can also start exploring if you want to and find some interesting stuff. Now, I know some people like to stay on the straight and narrow. I'm one of those people who checks under the hood and tries to find, how things are working. So I just give people both choices, and they can choose if they wish to. So that's the introduction. So I start this off with just 2 factors, 1 loop, and explain both the system of how small, medium farmers are investing in farmland and how farmland produces the resources or means of support for the small system farmers. And as long as this loop continues, or the resources or the configuration is constrained in this way, this will continue to exist.
Okay, the question that I have for you,
Okay.
is I am absolutely elated that you're using the internal codes for the pieces,
Right.
all right, for the elements and the connections, so that if somebody changes the labels, they still work.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Best I can.
And in terms of, wait a minute, this is the wrong place. Hold on. For those of you who aren't familiar with them, every single entity within Kumu has what they call a permalink.
Right.
So down here it says permalink, and what you're seeing at the bottom, that's the permalink for this particular map. If you look at an element, it has a permalink too, and notice it's got the map permalink followed by the element permalink. Same thing for connections and loop labels.
Right.
Okay. Now the question that I have, see, this one says map loop such and such.
Right.
The question that I have for Brian is, if you're developing this map,
Mm-hmm.
how did you get those permalinks when you're in this context? Did you have this open someplace else?
I didn't. I didn't get a permalink in the context because you can't do permalinks on focuses or combinations of different. I mean, on the map, I can put together things that aren't related together. I mean, just by going through search and just populating it, and I can grab from the top the HTTPS on the top of the browser, but I can't do a permalink on that, unfortunately. I mean, I wish I could.
Okay, but you created, you picked out this loop.
Yeah.
And in the text, you put a permalink.
The permalink for the particular items, okay?
Yeah, right, and I want to know where you got it from.
I got it from the individual. I got it from the individual elements or connections. I just go to a separate map, like you've opened up two screens. One, you've got.
Oh, I see. All right, I have to go over here.
Go over there.
Go to this.
Right.
To get the permalink.
Get the permalink, put it in, and take it to the other side.
Okay. And what he's noticed that down here, it's got the map permalink and the loop permalink.
Yes.
And all he needs is the one for the element or the loop. Notice it says equals pound, and then this is a connection, and this is equals element and the element permalink.
Or for the connection. Sometimes they use connections to show relationships.
Right. So what that does is, the way he codes this is, if you're in here and if there's a whole bunch of stuff on here and you're reading, notice what it does. It automatically centers the item that he's talking about as you're reading through it, which I think is marvelous. I wish more people would do it. It is extremely time consuming, but the result is awesome.
Yeah, right. But when I look at other people's maps and they have all this information, there's no tie-in, it's very difficult trying to think about where everything is. So I think as an educational thing, it's worthwhile doing.
Go from bouncing from left to right, left to right,
exactly. Yeah.
and reading this and then trying to find it.
Right.
And the fact that they're dotted underlines says this is a piece that you can find readily.
Yeah, right. Well, I do notice that when I'm doing these, I need to take this narrative and put it over into a word processor or something else, because it's really difficult trying to not edit, but think through the thinking process of how I want to say this. It's just easier if I do it separately.
Okay.
And then bring it back over here and populate it with all the bells and whistles.
So you wanted to display this loop. How did you find this loop?
I did. Okay, so when you do presentations, it goes to the underlying map. that you select for it. You can then decide to replace that with a narrative with all this stuff. But before I do that, I use the underlying map and use the focus or either the one I have purposely put into that narrative.
So the equivalent of when you're in the presentation mode, all of this is visible.
Right.
And you click on this and do a focus.
I could do focus right there. Just focus on the 07R there, see?
Okay.
And then I replace this screen in the presentation with a narrative screen with chosen whatever I want to put in there.
Okay. And the thing that makes it easy is, sorry, is that if you click on one of these, 0 also does a focus.
Right, yes, yes.
All right, so you can use the keyboard so that 0 does the focus and the tilde takes you back to the whole map.
Okay, Gene, I got a question for you.
Yes.
And then, okay, so I know with focus, you can either use the little target or the sniper scope thing, or you can use 0 and what else. And I know that you can clear the focus keyboard-wise with escape.
Right.
But if you wanted to, okay, so you saw before I had a focus link inside the narrative box.
Yes.
The focus that on. What do I use text-wise to clear the focus?
Escape clears the focus.
Well, escape does, but if I want to put a button on there, if I wanted to put a clear link in my narrative, so I didn't have to tell anybody to go anywhere else, it was just there.
I'll have to research that one. I don't know, man.
Okay. I saw something. I couldn't figure out what they were using. It just
okay.
No biggie.
But the nifty thing is that if you click this and hit stop it.
Yes, I know. I do it all the time.
Select this and hit 0.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've focused on this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if I hit escape, it takes me back and clears the focus.
Right. Okay.
If I hit tilde, it takes me back and doesn't clear the focus. So if I hold the shift key and go down here and click on this, next time I hit 0, I get both of them.
Oh, that is cool. I like that.
The back tilt, I mean, there's a distinct difference between escape and the back tilde. The back tilde makes it very quick because it will take you back to the whole map, but it doesn't clear the focus.
Okay.
So you can hold down the shift key and select something else. And then when you hit the 0 key, you have all of those pieces in focus.
Okay. But you can't do a permanent link to this thing you have here.
To this thing?
The three loops. If you wanted to have the 3 loops as a permanent link, you can't do that. The 3 loops you have on the screen right now, if you wanted to have that as one set thing, if you wanted a permanent link for this whole configuration, there's no way of doing that. You have to use the thing on top. That makes sense?
Probably.
Yeah.
Unless you actually coded this into a link, this whole piece.
Oh, could you do that?
Yeah. The nice thing about it is it gives you the stuff.
Okay.
All right. So that if I took this and went back to the map and tried this, sorry, I can't type. Clear focus.
No. Okay, we'll just did it later.
I'll go research it, but there is a way to do it.
Okay.
Okay. I just like the idea that the stuff that you need, they actually give you in the URL bar.
Right. Okay. Cool.
It's ugly. Let's be honest.
Yeah, yes. I've created some really ugly looking things,
Yeah.
but nobody sees it. It's all hidden.
Right. Right. Okay. So in terms of simply selecting the pieces that you want to unfold one after another,
Right.
and continuing to do this, to walk somebody through, this is specifically designed for someone to walk through the presentation.
Right. Taking
And-
very simple element or factor concepts and putting them together slowly, bit by bit, but quickly coming up with something that's going to be fairly complex.
Right.
So here, I've got only 3 elements, but I've got 4 relationships, and they are dynamic, and they're going to change over time. Do I consider the whole system to be fairly equilibrium?
Okay. With what's this? Oh, even references to archetypes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That seems to be the main one. I could not make this work as a markdown text, so that has, just a successful application relationship in this hidden. So I just put it like this.
Okay.
And I always tell people new tab or window if it's going to leave this presentation.
Okay. Okay. Any other particular aspects of this you want to talk about?
No, I mean, it's just basically here I decided to leave the first part alone and just show this by itself because it's a different theme or loop cluster for my mind. Just so I don't throw too much at them at one time, but I am going to start adding more and more. But so by the time you get to the end of this thing, I've got a lot of elements in there, but hopefully by that time people were comfortable with it.
Well, and I got the impression it was something that put together in the way that something that I talk about on a regular basis is that, as you said, not wanting to overwhelm them with too much at once.
Right.
To go ahead and tell this story, and then tell this story.
Right.
And then tell this story, and they're all parts of a larger story. But
Yes.
you don't have to tell the whole story at once.
Right.
But once you tell A and B, and it's like some of these movies that you see, they show you these little scenes of something happening and you don't know how it fits.
Right.
And they'll show you one of them that I liked that did that was Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
and Independence Day. They did, 4 or 5 of them. And then they began to tie them together. So you saw how all of those little pieces actually fit together in the larger story.
Yeah, Joseph Heller, Catch-22.
So I just I thought this was amazingly well put together.
Appreciate that.
And you have to do, like you said, you keep working on it.
Where do I find the link to the presentation?
It's under the 3 bars.
Yeah.
I just put it in the chat window.
Okay.
I thought you posted it to one of the.
I did before, but.
To which one,
I can't remember.
Me either. And not only that.
That's another idea I keep on running into, and that is how much information we have generated through this entire group process, which is a tremendous amount. And it seems like it's really hard I mean, the whole idea of Shannon information entropy, is really on my mind these days because it seems that we create so much information, but it's kind of hard to get back to it type of thing. It's not organized in a way that if somebody from the outside came in,
right.
percent of what we've done, I think, would be very hard to access.
You can search for things, but somebody from the outside doesn't know what they should be searching for.
Right, exactly.
I mean, we have 54 open discussions and 59 closed ones.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, they were, from my perspective, they all had some level of meaning to them. And this is the comment that I have made previously on a number of occasions about a project that goes on for a period of time. Consider a new person walking into this mess now. I mean, those of us who have been here for most of the meetings have the curse of knowing, because we don't know what we know. We've been exposed to all of this stuff so that certain things make sense that would make absolutely no sense to a new person that showed up. Right. Because they don't have all that historical context. Yeah. And I don't know what to do about that. I mean, if somebody wants to know what this means, go watch your presentation. Right. Okay. Don't go get lost in this.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I wouldn't want to have anybody come, to this until they got a little bit more comfortable, and then realize that this is the sausage making part of the breakfast. No, not the.
Yeah, this is making the sausage, and then this is you serving breakfast.
Right, right. Yeah. But it's not even that good as far as the information flow goes, because a lot of times what we do is we start a topic, but then we'll put things that aren't related to the topic under that topic, and we'll put things about that topic in someplace else, because we just kind of like automatically give the answer whatever environment we're at type of thing.
It is the nature of discussions to be divergent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly right.
And almost never come to a conclusion.
Very true.
So yes. All right. So for those of you who have not walked through his presentation in step-by-step in detail and read what he wrote, I would encourage you to do that, because I thought it was super. So.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that. I just pasted into the presentation first draft folder so I can find it again.
Yeah, I can go ahead and put the presentations right here.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, I'll do that right after this session. Add presentation. I'll put all of them there.
All right. I should let you guys know that I've got 4 presentations. All 4 are linked to the first one we just went through. Both as a link and interrelated with them. But there's one presentation that's not under this particular project. It's something I did before, which I changed. And I ran into a problem with it. I changed it from a personal account to an organizational account, my New Community Paradigm account. And all of a sudden, I lost the ability to go back to the dashboard or to edit or do anything with that, both the presentation and the map. So Alex is taking a look at that for me right now.
Oh yeah, I saw the post.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, because there shouldn't be a problem. Well, it sounds like they've disabled your organizational account, but do you have other maps in there that are working?
Yeah, they do. And he says my organizational account is fine. So he's got to research it himself.
Can you move it back? Can you move it back to a personal account?
I can move it back to. I can fork it.
Okay.
Back to a personal account.
Yeah, if you fork an organizational project, it goes back to a personal account.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, but I'm going to wait and see if he can do anything for me.
Okay.
If I fork it back, I'll lose the presentation.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
No, the presentation's still there. It's just not published.
Let me double check that. Okay, I'll see
Right.
what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be my my go-to solution if I can't.
Okay. The other thing you'll find is if you migrate a organizational account back to a personal account, all the discussions go away.
Oh yeah, there are no discussions. Yeah, right.
There are no. I mean, that's a good way to get rid of them all if you want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just migrate it and they all go away. So, all right. So, did you really want all of these to be private so they have tokens on them?
No, we can make them public.
Okay. When you.
In fact, I am thinking about taking some of these and putting them in, letting them free into the outside world, so that I can get comments from other people outside of this project.
Okay.
I've been, like I said, I've been working with the ABCD group, which I kind of see having a connection with that ACE rural inquiry organization, or ROI, Rural Opportunity Institute that you came up with.
Okay.
I can see a connection there with ABCD, and I can see a connection with the whole rural community food system.
I just have to ask,
Okay.
what is the ABCD?
ABCD is something, it's asset-based community development. And its approach to community development says you should start with the strengths of the community, not the weaknesses of the community. And one of its proponents is Cormac Russell, who is a faculty member out of ABCD, I think it's in Chicago, and also Nurture Development. And I've been having a lot of conversations with him. And I don't know, do you know Benjamin Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having some conversations with him on the same thing, and seeing this as a matter of community development, of helping rural communities. One of the approaches I've been taking. So I've been putting feelers about having that as an aspect, but I haven't actually given the presentation yet. So I'm thinking about doing that pretty soon.
Is that Clear Impact?
No, it's something similar, but no, I don't think it's Clear Impact.
No, because I found this Clear Impact Asset-Based Community Development.
Oh, it's put it in the link and I'll take a look at it.
There it is.
Okay.
What is this?
Yeah, no,
That's not them?
that's not them. Hold on.
Oh, see, we got more people using. And then there's rural development.
Okay. All right. Do you see this? Okay, this is old. DePaul University, I don't think is any longer the home of ABCD. I think it's in Chicago now.
Okay, try this one.
Yeah, Nurture Development.
Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's the right one. I mean, it's not the right one. It is the one I'm more used to working with. Cormac Russell, who I mentioned, is the manager for this organization, and is a big part of my new community development paradigms approach.
Okay.
But the thing is the ABCD folks are about the farthest away from systems thinking of all the different groups I work with you can get, which is why I've been having this idea about how do I bridge what they have and what we have so we can make it work together.
All right, so right after this call, before I migrate these to the entry page, you want to go ahead and unpublish these and make them public?
Okay, I will do that.
And republish them, and then I'll put the public links on that
Okay.
page.
Very good.
And I see,
Yeah, I just placed that file down there just so I can find it again. But if you put it,
oh, okay, all right, good,
that would be awesome. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but it's, all right. Just go to this launch page in the future, because this URL is going to change
Right.
right after Brian goes ahead and
Right.
makes them public.
Right. I'll do that.
Because they need to be public if you want to share them with some other people in it. Well,
Yeah.
you could just give them the token, but why bother?
Yeah. No, I want it open so people can share it themselves.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very good work. Amazing.
So what would we like to do next? Or some more? Or
I have a local guide, Gene. I sent you an introduction, and it was under some dumb label of fundraising, which I just forwarded.
yeah, I connected with him through LinkedIn, and we're he said that he's tied up this week, but maybe next week we can have a Zoom session and chat.
Oh, awesome. That's John Boyne. Okay,
Right.
great. Thank you.
Oh, the guy you wrote about? I mean, the guy the Romer wrote about?
No, different guy, I think.
Oh, different guy. Okay, sorry.
Not this guy.
Okay. All right. So next Tuesday?
Well, okay, so why don't we talk about what we do next Tuesday? So it's just not, well, we'll show up and see what happens.
So I won't be here next Tuesday.
Oh, that's right.
I'm gone for until after Christmas.
Well,
That was an amazing article here, Scott Bowman.
yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but based upon John's comments, I will read it right after this call.
Yeah, no, I mean, he really summarizes in a very easy to understand way what we have been talking about.
So personally, I'm on my way to becoming more food self-sufficient. I plant every day, and soon I will end up harvesting every day. I'm growing microgreens in the kitchen.
Oh, really?
But I'm growing in them containers that are about 6 by 6. So it's enough to put in a shake or a salad. So what's so funny? So every day I plant something different. And soon every day I will end up harvesting something. And I'm also probably you noted the link that I put up about grow towers, about tower farming.
Right.
So these commercial towers that they make are really awesome for $950 a piece. Okay. Which is sort of out of my budget. So I kept surfing the internet until I found something that made sense. I found a guy in Alaska that made one out of 5-gallon pails and 45-degree 1-inch PVC pipe connectors. So he's got 4 pails piled up, and each pail he's got 18 of these things. So in the space of a 5-gallon pail, which is about 2 foot by 2 foot, he actually has 72 plants. And because of the way that it's designed, I'll post the link to the video, which is short. It ends up being self-watering because the 5-gallon pail at the bottom is full of water, and it pumps it up, and it rains down through each of the pails back into the bottom. And my wife actually agreed to let me put one in the kitchen in front of the sliding glass doors. So that was an uphill battle, but
I imagine.
so,
I know what my wife would tell me.
well, she thought about it, and because of the amount of green vegetables that I eat on an ongoing basis, she said, well, maybe this makes sense. So
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So,
You
and,
know,
and
I've been,
because at the moment I'm spending $25 a week on green leafy vegetables.
yeah.
I eat lots of different kinds of leafy greens. I mean, kale and broccoli and spinach and Swiss chard and beet greens, and the list goes on and on and on.
Wow.
It's actually astonishingly easy. I mean, it's not necessarily cheap because you have to buy, you know, the tools and the equipment and all of that. But it has been made pretty easy to grow your own basic food items there.
Well, I think I can get the price of a grow tower down around $100.
Good.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you get to use it outdoors in the summertime and indoors in the wintertime.
There's been something happen in Colorado this past week that may be an opening for us.
For us?
Yes.
Okay.
The governor of Colorado issued a bunch of proposals on rural development, and I'll share the PDF with you. The problem that I see with his announcement is that much of it has more to do with his agenda than it has to do with rural development.
Well, what, will you expect something different?
Absolutely not. If you can tell me what all-day kindergarten has to do with
Rural development?
rural development in Cheyenne County out by Kansas, then
Okay.
you've got, you know, anyway. So I very tentatively floated some of my Kumu model with a lady from something called Startup Colorado. And she lives in Gunnison, but we'll be talking in Denver in the next 2 weeks with another fellow from Colorado Economic Development, perhaps. And
Wait a minute. What do you mean your Kumu model? How come we haven't gotten the chance to see your Kumu model yet?
oh, because compared to your graduate level thing,
Difference. This is supposed to be a group learning process. You can't learn anything unless you show people what you're doing.
maybe by Friday at 5 before we go out to eat, okay? But what I'm suggesting is that I'll do some iterations with you on what I'm doing, but then would you be willing to sit in on that Zoom session and weigh in with your model?
With what? This model?
The one we just talked about.
We don't want to show this model to anybody. This model is a secret. What we have to show them is presentations. I mean, we could get some, you know, we can show them a cut down version of one of Brian's presentations, or do a presentation specifically for them.
That's fine. But for the sake of those those people in Cheyenne and Kit Carson and Kiowa counties, places like that, Baca, oh my gosh. What I see is those people have to have some encouragement so that innovation about rural development springs up out of the ground out there, because whether it comes from DC or Denver, it's going to get there with pollutant attached to it. And they just got to have a chance.
John, I think you should let us as a group see your maps first and see, you know, and let us work from that, and then use that as a stepping stone to going to other people, type of thing.
Put that on the schedule for Tuesday. You have until Tuesday to let this thing out of the box.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
By next Tuesday, okay.
Just, you know, just wear your armor.
Right. And you can send it to us earlier than that so we can start, you know, seeing what you have and making some suggestions.
Okay, the same armor that Brian had on today?
Yeah.
He
That's
did
pretty
good.
simple stuff. I can come up with something like that.
Okay.
Dean, when you read the article that you posted from Bowman, at the very bottom, he's inviting you to take, I mean, he's inviting people to contact him with ideas.
Right.
I mean, are we strong enough to make a proposal there?
Why not?
We're getting there fast if we're not already there.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds like an interesting group.
right. Yeah. The thing I find interesting about this whole process is that now that I've started working with you guys on the rural community food system idea, it's popping up all over the place. I mean, it just seems there's so much information out there, but at the same time, even though it's all bubbling all over the place, it still isn't rising to the level of being really mainstream awareness. And so it's
So that phenomena is actually pretty well understood in psychology. You don't see something that you don't have a name for. So the famous thing, you go out shopping for a car, and you see a car that you haven't paid any attention to before, and all of a sudden you see it everywhere around you. You know,
right, exactly.
So once you have that information, then I mean, we can process maybe 10% of all the data around us.
Right.
So if you don't have context for it, you simply miss it.
But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. That's right. But what you're saying is absolutely right on. There is, and this is also the argument that Scott Bowman is making in his article here, is that it's a classic sub-optimization of a system. Everybody is doing stuff that they think is good for them in their particular situation, but it may actually be harmful to the system itself.
Right,
and in
exactly.
many cases, it absolutely is.
It's like Ackhoff said, you can't improve one part of the system without improving the entire system.
Exactly. So what Scott Bowman has laid out there is an observation of the dysfunction in the system currently. The pharmaceuticals don't talk to the medicals, they don't talk to the food industry, they don't talk to the, so the whole chain is disrupted. So systems thinking is the logical connector,
yes,
that explains the system as a whole. And just like you are seeing things that you haven't seen before because we have had a conversation, you're now becoming cognizant. It's like the Impossible Burger creating a supply chain that is divorced from the need to regenerate the soil. So
right.
they're using GMO, industrially grown inputs, the same chunk getting glyphosate into the product, the whole mess there, where this would have been such an opportunity to really turn the tide on.
You mean the Impossible Burger is not non-GMO?
It is GMO.
Oh.
And the crop is being raised with all the chemicals that you're familiar with, with synthetic nitrogen, so it's a smaller footprint, but it's the same mess as it was before, and it does not regenerate the soil. It doesn't bring the soil microbial matter back to life.
Right. I haven't been looking forward to having one, so.
Yeah, you don't worry. I mean, if you get some glyphosate into the system, that would be the way to go. But that's that lack of systems thinking, is really creating now more problems, because these guys are investing billions of dollars. When you look at the Terraton initiative, we went through that a little earlier. There's this Terraton, they're wanting to sequester 1 trillion tons of carbon into the soil. All of that is completely disheveled and disconnected from the larger system, and you can't connect them. And I've been trying, to work through the NGOs and get the NGOs interested to connect with industry. They don't want to do this. They want to work in the political process. They think they can solve all this by winning elections, which fair chance, and the time involved in this. So
Let me tell you guys about another thing I ran across yesterday from the Santa Fe Institute of Complexity. They had a lecture on YouTube, and the professor was talking about two different populations, one being Native Americans in Wisconsin, and I think the name of the tribe was Maoni, who had a very close ecological relationship with the forest of their reservation, the reservation where they've been living for like the last 4,000 years, and Western population, and comparing the cognitive ability or thinking process of these two populations. And the two things that came out of that discussion or lecture was, one, when the non-native Westerners were asked about what do you want to teach your children about ecology, they said, we want them to respect nature and take care of it. And when they asked the native population, what did you want your children to know about nature, they said, we want our children to know that they are part of nature. But the other thing that really interested me is they looked at the thinking processes and they found out that the non-native Western population was very linear in its thinking, while the native was actually more capable of complex thinking because they didn't think in terms of food chains, they thought in terms of food networks. And I thought that was really interesting that the persons who would be most enlightened for our systems thinking approach would be the native population.
Please post the link.
Okay, I'll find the video again.
Okay.
It's a long video, and
That's all right. I listened to most of them at 1.5 anyway. So
yeah, okay, that's good. All right, guys.
So we still didn't talk about what we're going to talk about next week, except John's model.
John's model. I'm sure it's going to take up the whole hour.
Oh, okay. All right.
But would it make, if it makes sense, to connect with a group like the Scott Bowman here, to see if he might be interested in, he's already a systems thinker, but if he might be interested in mapping out connecting points that could be of interest. I mean, this guy, for example, should definitely be connected with the, if he isn't already, but with the Teraton initiative, with NORI, so to create basically an information network so that everybody knows what's out there already,
right,
and starts linking up.
Right. It's like we said before, I don't think we're going to come up with the solution, but it'd be nice if we could be a resource or a connector for other people.
Right. And John was putting a note down here, CREU. I mean, CREU is all about aligning the information that everybody is working with.
Right.
And really letting that sieve through and create a presencing moment where we can all agree on what we're trying to solve against.
Right.
Well, yes, it's absolutely essential that the stakeholders agree on what the problem is they're trying to deal with. Otherwise, you don't get too far. I read Theory U, and I thought it was real good till I got toward the end, and he got way too touchy-feely for me.
There's also strategic doing, which is another process that maybe you want to take a look at.
Okay.
Well, what Otto Sharma has gotten into is is meditation. Meditation is actually a big deal right now in the business world. Almost every business school is teaching meditation, and they're talking about happiness. I mean, it has really changed a lot. And there's an understanding in neuroscience that meditation is a moment of just letting it sit, and not jumping to the next way. So yeah, it's very different from the educational environment that we have grown up in.
Sorry guys, but I gotta go. I'll see you guys.
Bye all.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.